Hey everybody, welcome back to Word Balloon. If you enjoy the videos here, please consider liking the video, subscribing to the Word Balloon YouTube channel, and of course, if you enjoy the audios and the videos, you can subscribe to my Patreon page, patreon.com/wordballoon. Hey everybody, welcome back. It's time again for another Word Balloon review of Harley Quinn. We're at the final episode of Season 1, The Final Joke, Episode 13. John Suntress here, happy to welcome back the co-creator of Harley Quinn, the animated series, and the co-showrunner, Patrick Schumacker. Welcome back, Patrick.
Hello.
And man, we start with a flashback of the ending of episode 12, and we see all the events that lead up to Ivy's impaling by the Joker and her death scene. And this one is, as opposed to Clayface's fake death scene in an earlier episode, this one looks pretty real. I mean, all of a sudden, we're all standing around Ivy's grave, and some moments, some very emotional moments where Harley can't even speak at Ivy's funeral, but Clayface, of course, can speak.
Clayface can speak, and he can also remember verbatim monologues from Star Trek films.
That is, honestly, I love all through pop culture's callbacks to that funeral of Wrath of Khan. I mean, Seinfeld made fun of it. All these great shows have pointed to Spock's death. And in fact, one of literally my absolute favorite Christmas memento, I bought the Hallmark Christmas ornament of the death of Spock scene, where it's Kirk and Spock in the room, and they're like kneeling, and they've got the little glass wall, between them. And if you push the button, it literally is all the dialogue as Spock is dying. Spock died for our sins, as we all know from the Christmas tradition.
What a morbid Christmas ornament!
I love it. That's why I bought it. It's the only Star Trek Christmas ornament. I'm like, I don't care how much it costs. I have to own this. This is fantastic. It wasn't that expensive. I'm glad I got it.
You're like, I put it right next to my girl with the dragon tattoo ornament collection.
Exactly. The nativity with the girl with the dragon tattoo. Yeah. Exactly. Merry Christmas, everybody. Hilarious.
Amazing.
But yeah, it was, and seriously, as he starts the speech, well, of my friend, I can only say this. I'm like, oh my God, he's going there. That's fantastic.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, yeah, this episode, written by Tom Hindman, directed by Brandon McKinney, who was promoted from board artist to director for this episode. And I thought he did just an outstanding job. And Brandon's a guy who has a little bit of a background in comics and had some creator-owned stuff out from Image, like way back in the day. So he's somebody to look up. He's got a good Instagram to follow. But yeah, like, so here we are where, it's sort of the burial of Ivy, the eulogy and all of that. And we knew like this was going to be kind of a mostly, joke light, if not free episode, because, you can't help it putting in stuff like the death of Spock, speech, but it felt like that kind of still fit the tone because of the nature of the speech's origins. But, we felt like at this point in the show, we had kind of earned this tone for this episode in particular, that it was like, this true culmination of a 13 episode arc. And, how do you joke when you've just killed off one of your leads? And so, Harley is, just filled with sadness and rage and, wants to murder the Joker for having just, killed her closest friend.
Yes.
And, here she finds herself yet again in a position where her life has been ruined by the Joker.
Yes.
And so, yeah, so she vows revenge. And, her first move is actually she knows she's going to need to bring in the big guns because, again, Joker's got this impenetrable tower that also, again, was partially Harley's idea, at least in the way that it sprung up on everyone, destroying the Legion of Doom headquarters in the process. By the way, like, people ask, like, did it kill the Legion of Doom? No, none of them are dead. They were on vacation. They're alive. It happened on a Friday, and they do half days on Friday. So they were at happy hour over at Martha's, Wayne's, Ruth's Chris Steakhouse, and yeah, that is like an Easter egg that's in. I can't remember. I'm trying to remember which episode that's in. The steakhouse is called Martha's Bruce's Steakhouse. And originally we wanted to have Luther's, Wayne's, Ruth's Chris Steakhouse, but we couldn't clear it. Okay. But I like Martha's Bruce Steakhouse. So she's got to bring in the big guns to get to the Joker. Who does she contact? Batman, who happened to be conveniently the one member of the Justice League who did not get sucked up into the book, the Queen of Fables book,
right? And
that whose whereabouts we have to assume are somewhere in the Joker Tower, anyway. At this point, Harley meets Batman on the roof of the GCPD, I believe, because we were like, okay, well. What's the reason for this pairing? Well, narratively, for the finale, we wanted to get Batman back in the picture, sure, and the showdown with the Joker. And B, it just felt like really momentous to have these two team up. It's something that we had kind of been talking about just in blue skying ideas throughout the season. Like, oh, wouldn't it be fun if like Harley and Batman had to be like reluctant allies? And so it felt, kind of finale-ish to make this happen. And so, Harley ends up, appealing to Batman's sympathy. And he agrees that, to a plan where he's kind of, he's going to take the lead, but she's going to help in a big way. And so this leads to this sort of inspired by Mission Impossible with Tom Cruise, the Halo jump sequence in one of the later Mission Impossibles, where Batman's in the Batplane high up in the air, which you reveal after you've already seen Harley at the foot of Joker Tower, along with along with Psycho and King Shark and Batman of all people and Psy. But Batman of all people is with Harley. And he's not speaking, and Harley's saying, "Open the gates, Joker. I'm delivering your nemesis to you. Happy birthday to you."
Right.
And what we find out is that it's Clayface as Batman, who's just a decoy, so that Batman can essentially halo jump from high up in the air into the Joker Tower from above, while Joker is distracted by Harley appealing to his ego.
Right.
And then, of course, Clayface screws the whole thing up. He gives away because while they're all singing "Happy Birthday" to Joker,
well, even before that, I just love that grin that breaks out on it because he's totally stone facing, but it's Clayface, so he can't help himself. So even at one moment, he just has that great, kind of face happening, and you're just like, "Oh, that's great!" So even the art is selling the fact without him saying a word that clearly something's wrong, and it's obviously Clayface. It's fantastic the way you guys did that.
Yeah, he's an actor who lets himself get wrapped up in the moment. Improv. He's taken improv to his detriment, and he decides to belt out the song, thereby giving away his identity. That this is all a trick, and giving Joker just enough time to trap Batman in the tower.
Yep.
And so all is lost. And, not only are the crew, minus Harley, have they been captured by the Joker, Batman is also imprisoned in Joker's tower. At which point, we do a bit of a time jump. Not quite the 5 years of Avengers Endgame, but we do a bit of a time jump here, using a montage that is scored to. It's kind of a Goodfellas homage. The music is a little bit of a Layla kind of riff, and we see a montage of how Joker has now taken over the city and rules it with an iron fist. And he's forcing, he's torturing the crew, but he's also forcing people in the city to abide by his rules, to laugh at his jokes that he broadcasts on a daily basis. And if you don't, you're going to get mowed down by a submachine gun. He's got Batman on a giant cuckoo clock as the cuckoo bird in the cuckoo clock. He's just bound and gagged and being basically displayed, as a symbol of Joker's victory for all the people of Gotham. And he's got a reward out for Harley. He's just a super, super petulant character. And we're playing him very consistently, I think, as just a petulant man-child. But then we find out that Joker, being the man-child that he is easily bored. And we find him in his tower after, let's say a couple of months have gone by, right?
Yep.
And he's in his tower on his throne. Scarecrow is there. He's working. He's in cahoots with Joker. And God bless Raul. This was a wonderful final performance for him. We just love him. And I want to give him another voice on the show because Scarecrow is dead. Spoiler alert.
And why is Scarecrow
why is he dead? Well, he is dead because he decides it would be a cool thing to lift the cowl off of Batman's face and reveal that he is Bruce Wayne. So in this moment, this shocking moment, Joker realizes that Batman is Bruce Wayne. And he's kind of disappointed. He didn't think he's just a boring billionaire. And Bruce calls him out for being reductive.
Yes.
But he is angry that, part of their whole game that they have going on, the whole, tete-a-tete thing that they've got is that Batman's identity was a secret. It made it interesting for the Joker. Now there's no mystery, just kind of like how Joker's true identity remaining a mystery is what makes the Joker so interesting to many people. And so he decides that he's going to kill Scarecrow because he slighted him. So he squirts acid in the Joker's face very quickly, Indiana Jones style, melts his face, and Scarecrow is dead. And it's just the Joker and Bruce left in the tower. And at which point, the Joker files a complaint that he ordered an electric car from Wayne Tech that was promised him over a year ago. Where's the electric car? One of the writers had a Tesla, and it was like he had to wait like a year to get it. And I think that was definitely the inspiration for that joke. So Harley, all alone, still hopeful maybe that she can avenge Ivy, is talking to Ivy's, at her grave, essentially. And this was a moment, I really like this moment, where Harley, we wanted to give just a little bit of a hint that maybe there's some hope that Ivy's not dead. And the way that we did that was that, when Harley's tear hits one of the roses on Ivy's grave, it changes color. So we have these like red and black roses that are heavily in the foreground. They're in your face for a reason because we wanted people to remember those like black and red roses.
Right.
They're Harley colors, but Ivy essentially is creating them if you think about it. And yeah, we just wanted there to be this big visual signifier that was specific to Harley that would also be easily identifiable later in the episode. And then just this notion that Ivy, she is this sort of, her powers are are powerful. They're strong. She has the ability, given that she is essentially part plant, to regenerate. When you think, there's lots of plants out there where you think they're dead, and give them a little bit of love and care and water and food, and they revive. And to go back to the Tom King oeuvre of DC Works, Heroes in Crisis, I think was out by this time that we were writing this, and you have a resurrection. Actually, you know what? I don't think Heroes in Crisis was out yet. I don't know. But I have talked to people about this, just using it as an example of something that was out also that kind of fell in line with what we were thinking. Mm-hmm. And Ivy is killed and reborn in Heroes in Crisis, and so at any rate, like it felt like something that was consistent with Ivy's powers. That maybe if you bury her in the ground, keep her roots in the ground and keep her cared for, she could come back. So
sure,
this was the sense of like, okay, maybe there's some hope. And so Harley, marches back to the Joker Tower and is basically like, what do you want from me? Joker's there reading Infinite Jest, or pretending to read it, so he seems like an intellectual, as all of us do. He basically says, there's one thing. I'll let you in. There's one thing, even though you're surrendering, but I'm going to need you to do something special. Lets her in, gives her the tour of his sort of penthouse in the tower, which Joker is like the original Tiger King, and has a couple of tigers. He saw that Harley brought the tiger to Joshua Cobblepot's bar mitzvah in episode 2, so now he's got 2 tigers because he got a one-upper. And he wants Harley. His demand is for Harley to put her old costume back on, and to essentially erase everything that she's accomplished this season. Which is a season so built on her identity and self-actualization and all of that. And she does it because she'll do it for her crew. That's the only way he says he'll spare her crew, who's been trapped in the tower for months in inhumane conditions. And she's got, she humiliates herself for their benefit. But then we realize that she's really just needed to get in there so that she could kill him. And she attacks the Joker. And it's this kind of quiet but like really intimate battle where there's just them and knives in the tower, and it's pretty gnarly. They're stabbing each other.
Oh yeah, it's very prison, that kind of shiv to the gut kind of thing. Absolutely, man.
Yeah, and but we wanted the fight to be like really intimate like that,
sure.
And not jokey at all. And so, he gets the upper hand, and, she tells him, you might as well just kill me, because at this point, all is lost. She has nothing to live for. She thinks Ivy's dead. We all do still at this point. And he has his goons take her away, and he reveals that, he's not going to kill her. What he really wants to do is to normalize her, to send her back in this, concoction of acid that he has that will completely not only erase, the Harley that we've come to know over the season, but erase like any version of Harley that we've ever known, and to essentially normalize her. Mm-hmm. And he drops her in the acid, but she knows before he drops her in there, she kind of sees something happening below, which is that these vines with these black and red flowers start to creep their way through the bricks of this warehouse. And she knows that, holy shit, Ivy's alive. And she knows it because of, the flowers and the vines. Vines are a good indication.
Sure.
But Joker throws her over the edge, doesn't hear a splash, and Ivy rises up heroically with Harley in her arms. And they win. They end up dropping the Joker into the very sort of normalizing acid that he was going to drop Harley in. We see him. We don't know in this moment, is he drowning in it because he can't get out? You know, what's becoming of him? Have we killed the Joker? But it's just I thought it felt like a good poetic end for the season, and Ivy's back, and Harley is a little bit of that Disney princess mind that like her tears brought her back, and Ivy's like, it was the reviving power of nature that brought me back, but that's nice. That's a nice thought. And then the Joker rises back up from the acid, and again, being that sort of petulant villain that he is, he's like, I can't win. We're all getting taken out. And so he presses the self-destruct button in the Joker Tower. It completely crumbles in this lengthy sequence of the tower just buckling under its own weight after all these explosives are set off. Batman has broken out of his restraints, and in an effort to save Harley and Ivy, Batman gets taken out by an I-beam, and for all we know, he's dead. But he is the consummate hero trying to save his antagonists because he is incorruptible. He is good.
Sure, that's what heroes do.
And he pays for it. He pays the price. And so Harley and Ivy, escape. But in this process of this tower and its like hydraulic system going so deep into the ground, it triggered, a sort of seismic shift. And we reveal the ending is that, is basically the setup for a season 2 that would be, inspired by, at the very least, No Man's Land.
Absolutely.
This 8.6 earthquake, instigated by the destruction of the tower. So instigated indirectly by Harley, has essentially led to the destruction of an entire city. And we end with Harley and her crew kind of overlooking the carnage, and they're villains. They kind of have to pat themselves on the back for the chaos that this Harley set out to do something big at the beginning of the season, and the destruction of a city it's pretty big. So and
also with Batman gone, and also the Joker seemingly nullified.
And the Justice League, where are they?
Right, they're trapped in the book. So it looks like the villains have won, and
And then, of course, our little nod at the end to the Joker's transformation, that the acid ran its course, and we see his hand come up in a pile, and the pale flesh turns to less pale, and we kind of hear his laughter, his maniacal laughter, kind of normalize into a very mild-mannered chuckle. What does that mean moving forward? That is how we end season 1. Wrapping up a lot of things, but also starting a whole new 13 episode arc that has not finished running its course yet on DC Universe, but this ends the first 13 that Sci-Fi has graciously decided to re-air for a broader audience. So I thank them.
Yeah, sure. No, and again, like you said, literally to a broader audience. Is there immediate plans for Sci-Fi to run season 2? Are there no plans for Sci-Fi to run season 2?
I have to check. I haven't heard anything yet, but I do know that the show is doing really well on Sci-Fi. We got some data that it was the number 2 show on Sci-Fi of like the whole year to date.
Wow.
And this is late night, right? So like,
sure, it's late night, and also up against the second half of the fourth season of Rick and
Rick
Morty.
and Morty, yeah.
So, I mean, you got tough competition out there for the same milieu of adult animation and stuff. And so,
Yeah.
no, Patrick, that's fantastic. And again, it's one of the reasons why I wanted to go over season one, because I have DC Universe. I'm watching season two. We've spoken about season two on the Word Balloon audio podcast. And I know that we will likely do a season two wrap up on a subsequent video and audio presentation. But yeah, I was just like, well, this is an opportunity for really a wider audience to experience it. So I'm really glad that it's working. And also, we know HBO Max, is debuting in just a week or two at the end of the month. Will Harley be on there? Or
that is the hope. That's the hope. I know, we're talking to them, but without saying anything that I can't say, I'm optimistic that that seasons 1 and 2 will find their way to either HBO Max or elsewhere. But HBO Max makes a lot of sense.
There you go. Well, hey, man, congratulations! A great first season. Again, I am watching the second season, and I can safely say that the humor and the interesting characterizations and parodies continue, and things get very interesting, as you say, because what happens in the wake of a Gotham that seemingly is destroyed. Batman is missing, if not dead, and the Joker seemingly in some sort of transformation. So there's a lot of things to explore in season 2. Again, we covered the first 2 episodes of season 2 on a Word Balloon audio, so I recommend people go through the Word Balloon archive, check that out, and we will likely do a wrap of season 2. So again, congratulations on the first 13, and to the entire cast and crew, and to your writing staff and everybody involved. Really nice going, and I'm so happy for you, Patrick, honestly, because again, when we met, Powerless was canceled, and I was like, oh, that's like there were some interesting ideas there. You gave us the full story of that, and I'm glad that Warner Brothers has stuck by you and Justin, and are allowing you to create some really interesting DC Universe content. And I think it's in really good hands. So well done, and continued success. And I look forward to our next Word Balloon conversation about not only Harley Quinn, but other adventures of Patrick Schumacker. Thank you.
Well, yeah, no, thanks so much for doing this, John. It's been really cool, and yeah, just thanks for spreading the word about the show.
Thanks again for watching another Word Balloon video. We've got plenty more at our channel, Word Balloon. If you enjoyed it, please like it and consider subscribing to the channel. And of course, support me on Patreon, patreon.com/wordballoon. Thanks a lot for watching.